Hello, and welcome to Lesson 3 of Module 4. In this lesson, we'll continue to discuss struggles students have with executive functioning, specifically cognitive flexibility. Cognitive flexibility is the ability to switch and adapt between tasks and thinking without becoming overwhelmed. So let's say that on your way to work this morning, your normal route was blocked due to construction. Instead of stopping and having a panic attack or turning around and going home, you simply find another route and continue on your way. This is because you have flexible thinking and are able to refocus your attention when something does not go according to plan. Flexible thinkers are able to focus on the task at hand, but then easily switch and adapt to a new task without an issue. If a student does not have flexible thinking, they are considered to be rock thinkers. This chart identifies some differences between a flexible and a rock thinker. A flexible thinker possesses the following characteristics. They have an open mind, they are patient and they think things through, they listen to others' opinions, they think of others in a situation, they can problem solve to overcome a situation, they can compromise, they will try new things, and they are sociable and make friends easily. Whereas a rock or rigid thinker is often closed-minded, impulsive, they believe they are always right, they are only focused on themselves, they focus on a problem and cannot find a solution, they will not compromise, they are stuck in routines, and they struggle to make new friends. As you can see, a flexible thinker is open-minded and is more likely to adapt to a new or challenging situation. So how can we support our students who might be rock or rigid thinkers? In this lesson, we'll go over a few scenarios where students might struggle and then possible strategies to support them. We will first discuss reading and writing and the struggles associated with it for rigid thinkers. The English language can be very complicated since we have several words or sounds that might look the same but are either pronounced differently or have different meanings. For example, the word red. When I just said it aloud, you do not know if I'm talking about the color red or that I have read a book. Therefore, the students will also not know. Let's say I meant the word red, as in R-E-A-D. But instead of saying it, I wrote it down. Now, the students have to decide, do I mean read, like I read a book in past tense, or read, as in I will read a book. As an adult with flexible thinking, we are able to decipher exactly what we mean fairly easily. However, imagine how this can affect a student just learning to read who also struggles with flexible thinking. Another difficulty students may have with reading are letter blends that look the same but sound different depending on the other letters in the word. For example, dough and cough. Both words have O-U-G-H, however, they are pronounced differently. Another issue students may have is with writing. Many students are taught that in order to make something past tense, you add an ed at the end. This works for many words, however not all. Therefore, if you have a rigid thinker who is told add ed at the end of a word to make it past tense, they might always do this. And it is very likely that they will spell words incorrectly. Instead of writing swam, S-W-A-M, they would write swimmed or drived instead of drove. So how can we support our struggling readers and writers? The best way would be to have a cheat sheet of common words and their spelling, pronunciation, and meaning. This way, students can refer to the sheet if they are having difficulty. If your students use the internet, I highly recommend to add the extension Grammarly to Google Chrome. This is an app that runs while you are on the internet. When it is on and you are using Chrome, the app will monitor your grammar and spelling and underline errors. The great thing about Grammarly is that when on, it is always working. So it does not matter if you are searching in Google, writing an email, or tweeting on Twitter. Another struggle students who are rigid thinkers might face is in math. Say you are teaching the order of operations, so you give them a sheet that says this: P parentheses, E exponents, M multiplication left to right, D division left right, A addition left right, S subtraction left right. And the student has the following math problem. They might be able to complete the first 3 steps. So 2 plus 3 is 5, and then 5 squared is 25. And multiplied by 2 is 50. However, according to PEMDAS, they should now divide, but there is nothing to divide in the problem. Your student might stop here because although you have told them that the operation is not there to skip it, they still have that list that they are following. So in order to rectify this issue, instead of giving the students who are rigid thinkers the same sheet as everyone else, it would be better to give them a more detailed set of instructions, or one that is organized in a different way. For example, the title, Order of Operations. At the top, you can also note that you need to complete all of one operation at a time, and that if an operation is not the problem, then you can skip it and move on to the next step. Then, you can list the order of operations. Step 1. Do all the work inside the parentheses. You need to follow the order of operations in here as well. Step 2. Do any work with exponents. Step 3. Complete multiplication and division from left to right. If there isn't any multiplication, move on to division. Step 4. Complete addition and subtraction from left to right. If there isn't any addition, move on to subtraction. As you can see, there's a little more detail in here than in the other one, and you can also provide the student with an example that has each step identified. In math, students might also struggle with word problems and identifying keywords. From a young age, they were taught that if you increase something, you add, and if you decrease something, you subtract. However, in a word problem, it is likely that instead of saying increase by, it says more than or some. If a student is looking for the word increased and misses the word more than or some, it is likely that they will solve the problem incorrectly. So, in order to support your students with this, it is helpful to have a cheat sheet that they can reference with keywords and what they mean similar to this. Since we have covered strategies specifically for literacy and math, here are a few strategies that can be implemented in all of your classes to support rigid thinkers. Always have a routine. Post the agenda. This will help students know what to expect throughout the lesson. Read the agenda aloud. This will help focus the students. Provide students with detailed instructions and an outline when possible. Have class materials accessible, such as highlighters, to help students identify important information. And finally, create checklists. In our next and final lesson for Module 4, we'll discuss difficulties students have with self-regulating and strategies in order to support them.